Thank you so much. Welcome members to this interview on status of doctoral candidate supervision at Kenya universities, a case study of KIBU University. So this is a study which is in fulfillment for the requirement of a training course for supervisors of doctoral candidates at African universities, which is sponsored by DAD, and also have several students across Africa who are the supervisors for PhD students. So in KIBU University, we are privileged to have 2 supervisors who are enrolled in this training course, and that's why we have come here, so that we can get more information from you, staff of KIBU University, on this title of status of doctoral candidates supervision at KIBU at Kenyan universities. So my name is Professor Julius Mayo. I am a professor of Economics and Planning of Education at the Department of Education Planning and Management, and also I supervise students in management. So I will give you a chance to introduce yourself, and then from there we'll continue.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Boniface Kwach, Doctor of Applied Mathematics, Department of Mathematics, and the Chairman of Mathematics Department. I supervise students in mathematics.
Okay. My name is Dr. Lucy Chikamai. I have a PhD in pure mathematics. I'm from the Department of Mathematics, currently the Dean Faculty of Science, and I supervise students in pure mathematics.
My name is Dr. Samuel Mungai Bogwa. I hold a PhD in Information Technology. I belong to the Department of Information Technology in the School of Computing and Informatics. I supervise students in information technology.
Okay, thank you. So we'll also ask how many students do you supervise at the moment who have not graduated?
Thank you. Currently, I supervise, there are 3 who have not graduated. All of them are in applied mathematics.
Yeah, and I have 3 PhD students who have submitted. I currently have 2 students who have not yet submitted for PhD.
Well, I have 3 PhD students who I'm expecting to graduate this year, and there could be others in the pipeline.
So, okay, for me, I have 1 who is to submit in this month of January or February, and also have 2 that we expect that they will graduate this year of 2019. But I also have 3 who are still in proposal level, and we are moving up with them. So we also wanted to ask, how were you appointed as a supervisor? What could be the process?
Yeah, if I may start, supervision requires an element of expertise. So you must be basically specialized in the field of supervision. That is 1. And again, we also consider the qualification. Particularly if it's a doctoral student, then there is a level at which you are allowed to do supervision.
The process also, in addition, the student identifies what area they want to be supervised in, what they want to do. Then they approach the department, they discuss on who is the best possible lecturer who can supervise them. And that goes with the area of expertise, like he has said. Then they approach and see if the lecturer is in a position, and then they are able to supervise them.
Okay.
Yes, in addition to what they have said, Then once your name is proposed, it is taken through the Dean's Committee. Is it the Dean's or the School of Graduate Studies?
Yes.
Then from there, finally approved at Senate.
So you can say that the student, is it the department which have the say or the choice of the supervisor, or the student is the one who chooses the supervisor? Because you look at the admission process, there is a column down there,
Yes.
somewhere that asking the student to choose the supervisor.
Yeah.
So I don't know how the departments and your supervisors follows what the student indicated during admission.
Okay, for our department, the student is allowed just to choose one supervisor. Then the department can add the extra supervisor.
Okay.
And again, in addition, normally, however much the candidate may be supervised by an external supervisor, normally one must be internal, and also from the department.
Okay. Then the other issue is about maximum number of students that you are supposed to supervise at any given time. Do you have such issues in KIBU University?
Yeah, basically it is 8, and by extension that is based on other engagements in the line of work. It is appropriate that it should be that number or less.
Okay, it is 8, but 3 of them are PhD, then the others should be masters, not 8 PhD at the same time.
It's okay. So just on the two to tie up. So do you have a situation whereby the supervisors which are available, if they already have a full workload in terms of having 8, and yet you continue admitting students?
Actually,
Or do-
admission actually has been limited because of that supervision element. Yeah, because you cannot have more than 8. So once the 8 has reached, you can't take on more students. Yeah.
It's okay. So the other question is about the type of supervisory management that you as a supervisors adopt, and maybe the type of feedback that you give to your students. I don't know if you can comment, how do you go about in the supervision of students? What type of management do you adopt, or what kind of feedback do you give to your student?
Yeah, basically you have to agree, because there are certain guidelines and you have to agree based on the timelines on what has to be done. And that means it has to be as conventional as that. And we don't relax our trend of events. We want to ensure that once we agree on modalities on how we progress, the timelines must be met.
What I would also want to add is that as a supervisor, you sit with your student and you discuss on what are the obligations of that student and what your duties are as a supervisor. Then you draw a program on what you'll be doing, what times you'll be meeting, and any assistance that the student may want. You show them how you are going to guide them in their areas. So at every stage, you are there for the student. You even timetable when you will be meeting with the students.
Okay, now on what note of whether to give praise, criticism, or opinion, it depends. When the student has done something good, you praise them. When you think there's anything that is not right, then you can critique. But there are times you can give an opinion that this is the way I want this done, but it's an opinion. Okay. But where it's very critical, then you can give a critique. So you can't say that you use just one criteria, that whether to praise, to critique, or opinion. It all depends on what is the issue at hand.
It's okay. I don't know what you'll say, because the time students receive some, when they submit their proposals, their thesis, they receive just marks, maybe either crosses without explanation, and of course deletion without explanation. And most of the feedback they receive from their supervisors At times students say that they don't understand what the supervisors want, so they keep on trying because one, they have no opportunity to have a direct conversation with the supervisor. The supervisor reads the work and then give back to the student. The students look at the feedback. At times they don't understand, but they try to read what could be the mind of the supervisor.
Okay.
And then we have those category of the supervisors who maybe only give the editorial and the format aspect, and less of content, and less of critique, and less of praise. I don't know if you have ever come across that.
What I would want to say on that is it depends. I'm looking at mathematics, for example. Before a student reaches the level of proposal, you must have engaged verbally. They are the presentations the student will come to make to you, even as a person, and you may even want to bring in a team to listen to those presentations. So that time is presenting his work. You are listening to it. Definitely you will correct him verbally, and you take the corrections. Now when he brings the feedback, you have to look at the content. The content is very important. The content is very important.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And in our situation here, you see we have the levels, particularly the technical level, where we call it departmental presentations, where the candidate normally subjects himself and the ideas are really scrutinized. Then now it goes to the next level, which is the faculty overboard to really identify the gray areas again before it comprehensively discussed at the graduate level. So at those levels you realize that there are a lot of critiques which will automatically come up and really streamline the work so that good output is demonstrated.
Okay. Normally you can make your comment maybe on the hard copy or send them a soft copy, but if for some reasons you find that they are not getting what you do, you actually call them for a face-to-face, because you can see maybe you're giving them feedback, but when they make corrections, it is already out of whatever you expected. In that case, you call them for a face-to-face talk.
It's okay. So in KIBU University, when somebody attains a PhD, for anyone to become a supervisor, do you have a program for training or for mentorship for them to become supervisors? Because since maybe from your experience, were you trained, were you inducted and given method of supervision, or just upon attainment of the degree of PhD, you automatically qualify to become a supervisor? Do you have such mechanism, or maybe you can share your experiences?
Yeah.
If you have been trained.
Actually, that is the biggest issue here. To be quite frank, most people are using the tactics of their supervisors. So if your supervisor supervised you in this particular way, that's the way you go. So actually we need training for people to supervise, because most people just take off. You find somebody who has attained a PhD, even this year, is expected to supervise. I say that without any training, without any induction, because actually of lack of manpower.
Okay. The other alternative is that if they are senior, in the case whereby they are senior supervisors, you assign almost attached to them. You do supervision when you are to maybe a senior person, and you. So in that particular case, it's like on the job training.
It's okay, quite.
Yeah, because you see the process of doing supervision is more or less like mentorship. In the long run, actually, through the supervision, you also have to expose to the candidate a lot of opportunities. Some of them are the outcomes. After this thread of events, you would be in a position to do the same things we are doing. And that is why if it needs to be that they have to be subjected to supervision immediately after graduation, based on the demand because of scarcity of staff, then they would be aligned to be, there must be somebody who guides through but he is now, just like was said, he is put number 2 to see the trend of events. So that improves his mode of approach to supervision thereafter.
It's okay. So just when you put it to be number 2, does it mean that he's a lesser supervisor? Is learning from the other one? Do the first supervisor and the second supervisor, does the first supervisor knows that he's mentoring the second supervisor in such situation? And do they have a meeting to give direction to the second supervisor on what should be done?
Not really. Sometimes it applies like that, but because certain scenarios may appear like we have an external supervisor. An external supervisor, by virtue of events, we expect internal to be enclosed as number 1, by virtue of guidelines. But in a situation where there is the element of mentorship, particularly if you are the technical team who can supervise the candidate, you can do major work as he also learns to.
It's okay. So maybe just in a continuation, maybe Dr. Bugwa can assist us. When you say somebody is a first supervisor and second supervisor, does it mean there's a difference even in terms of the command and also in terms of remuneration?
In terms of remuneration, there may not be. It is the same, but depending on how the time somebody has supervised. If you are just young, at least it's good to know that the other person could also lead you, because you could be making some mistakes. So the senior supervisor has a greater role, although at the end of the day you have to agree. If there is a conflict, you have to sit as supervisors and agree. But the senior supervisor is just senior. He knows.
Actually, also, usually, the students may be doing an area which incorporates 2 different areas. You see that? So this will be an expert in this will be an expert in that. Therefore, the 2 may be the same. It doesn't mean that now that you are number 1, you are senior. You may simply be there, number 1. Maybe like he has said, one may be external, the other one internal. So also expertise matters.
Okay. So to what extent are you aware and conversant with the following regulations and guidelines that governs doctoral supervision? 1 is the Graduate Studies Academic Integrity Policy. Then 2 is regulation and guidelines for graduate studies. And 3 is manual for thesis examination and academic progress report form.
Basically, these are always anchored in the website, but at times we have to revisit them and revise them as time goes by.
Okay.
So you had said to what extent? It's to a large extent.
And some of us are involved in the formulation.
Yes, because at least in the
of this
academic
thing.
integrity policy you must be aware, because
Yeah.
it guides everything. The regulations is what is supposed to happen, then the manual. You have to use the manual as you go through the basis and
Yeah.
even as a student, so that you
You
use it
know.
to correct. And finally, you have to give progress reports on how the student is progressing. Normally they're supposed to be quarterly or something of that particular nature.
It's okay. So the quarterly reports is given by the supervisor.
Yes, the student fills the form and then the supervisor you have
Science.
to sign,
Comment.
then the COD, then they are taken to graduate school.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So we can say that you constantly interact with the policies and regulations, and you are aware
Yes.
and quite conversant. But when you supervise students, do you ensure that they are aware of these policies? Is there a way that you ensure that the student has read it, and also you make a follow-up to see that he understands those regulations?
Yeah, like the first meeting, when you are spelling out how you'll be supervising that student, that's when you guide him on everything that is required for his studies. So you make him aware of this type of policies And also as you mark, because these policies even guide on the format and everything, so you are always aware of what is happening, and where there's a problem you correct and you point the student that you are not doing this right.
Okay. I don't know what you will say, because from the report we got from your students,
Yeah.
they claim that majority of them, they say that they are not aware of this regulation. So what will be your comment on that?
Maybe the package, you know, the way it is packaged to them, if it is packaged with a very good definition of what is contained here, they will spell it well. But all in all, normally as we go through the documents, we normally make remarks based on these guidelines. So unless maybe we need to at least bring it out and repackage it well, so that they also embrace to know exactly what we do in day to day.
If it's format and it's wrong, you tell them refer to the SGS guidelines. Refer to. Yeah, maybe they don't refer.
Yeah, some of them say, at times they say refer to, and they don't know where to refer to. But it's okay. And then also, what could be the challenges facing doctoral students during supervision, now that you have been supervising since for many years? You are gurus in supervision. What could be some of the challenges that your students are facing?
Maybe I would talk on most of the students we engage are part-time, more or less they are on job. So the restrictions at job place may not allow them to really adhere to the agreed timelines. So that really has a lot of challenge. And sometimes they also schedule to meet or interact with their supervisors at specific times or days, but now the distance, so the cost issue also comes in. Yeah.
Anything you wish to see? What are some of the challenges? Maybe
The other challenges is that the student, what they expect of a PhD, at times they don't know that at least they are required to do a lot of work and go to a lot of depth. So because maybe they did a master's and so they think they are still operating at that level. So when they are required to operate at PhD and do most of the work, then they find it very difficult and therefore they withdraw. Two, they expect their supervisors to behave like teachers. So they expect to compare kituna. We just will provide a solution, but you is to direct where the problem is so that the student can search. So that is where the issues come.
Another issue maybe is concerning cost. You know, PhD, they are supposed to be exposed to so many conferences, meet other people. So usually they are not exposed to such things because of costs. They are unable to attend so many conferences because of costs. That also is a major problem, resources.
Okay.
And then let me also add one or two. We have, particularly in mathematics, we expect them to engage in certain approaches to managing their work based on our recommendation. Things like latex, magma, you see, and they come in and they find a lot of difficulty. So those challenges, once they don't have the prerequisites, so you find them really having a lot of problems going through the work. Because we put the demand and then they are not able to cope up at that specific time.
Yeah, one of the information I got from the students, they said the greatest problem, big problem and challenge they have is their supervisors. One, understanding them. And therefore they put so much expectation from the supervisor. And when they do the supervisor, they fail. They feel that the expectation is too high
From the supervisor.
from the student about the supervisor. And then as they interact with the supervisor, they fail to understand them. One, they say that supervisor types are not available. At times you fail to understand them. They tell you today this, tomorrow they tell you this. They keep on changing the goalpost until the student fail to know where they are going. So that is what they say as their greatest challenge. I don't know what you'll say.
Maybe to interact on that, normally, this kind of work we do, we supervise, we expect the initiation to come from the students themselves. Our role is to guide. So we get into the idea and guide them through the process. But now if they come with empty minds, we impose on them our ideas, then we have to guide them through. So it is us who know, them they are struggling to know, what we know. And sometimes we engage ourselves into higher levels, which they can't comprehend at their level, so they find a lot of difficulties. Yeah, so sometimes that is the difficulty they get.
So you are up there.
We are up there.
They are down there. So how do you?
So we advise them. Normally we want them to engage, let them really brainstorm so that they come with an idea which they really, have passion on to help us guide them through.
I also want to comment this. This is PhD is about research. Even your supervisor does not have the answer. And like I keep on telling students, PhD is your own, the students' work, not the supervisors. And he's trying to get something, to search for knowledge. The supervisor doesn't have that knowledge. So in most cases, they expect the supervisors to come with the answers. It's like they are still at that level of undergraduate. But research is totally different. It's not like undergraduate. So our students, the background way of teaching, the background of the way they've been taught, they've relied for answers from teachers. And that really affects the way so it takes a long time for them to realize that no, even my supervisor may not have the answer.
Okay. So what could be the challenges that you face as a supervisor?
Those ones like we've been talking about. Students are having so much expectation. The view of the student about their supervisor. They want the supervisor to do everything for them. They don't want to do most of their work from them. But usually, our students are working, like he said, to get them is difficult. And when they get that little time they want to do very shallow work. And because they don't have time to dig deep. So if they could work, if they could study full time, I'm sure they would give better work.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, maybe to add, currently there is a lot of constraints, and then even the institutions cannot manage to hire. Human resource is basically limited. That limited resource gives us, fewer staff who are able to supervise. The same staffs are also really engaged in other endeavors. So even time to really spare well to go monitor and go through the journey with the student is also, tricky. So those are some of the challenges we have. So you have your job, you have your own personal issues, financial, family, you have the student here, a lot of things.
And also, supervision is not counted as part of teaching. It's like you are doing it outside your normal working load. It's not counted towards it. So that also takes care of what he's talking about.
Okay. So do you have some students who have stagnated in the program beyond the expected time? Like the PhD is supposed to take 3 years.
Yeah, full time.
Yeah, full time.
And part time.
Yeah, so do you have students who have stayed beyond the expected time?
Yes. Times we have, like they are saying, the idea is like one of mine, when you tell him to do more research, he tries to tell you, you give him the literature, he will go. Now you start wondering, who is doing the research? Is it me or him?
Yeah.
Okay? So such a student gradually finds that they are not making any progress.
Exactly. Like this is 2018,
19.
So 2019. Ideally, the 2014 have been there for 4 years. So they should graduate by this year. Because most of our students are not full-time, they are part-time. Yeah. But we have also had a student who completed and could not graduate because of fees. You see that?
Okay.
So those are some of the challenges.
So lastly, what can be done to promote efficiency in doctoral supervision in our university? What could be recommendations, suggestions? How can we promote efficiency? And when we talk about efficiency, we realize that majority of students have not graduated. Majority of students that you enrolled in 2013, 2014, almost 90% are still at the university when they're supposed to have graduated. So what can be done? What can the university do? What can the other bodies, sponsors, and what recommendation? Because maybe the problem that you have might not be only unique to KIBU University, but also could reflect majority of the universities in Africa. So what can be done? Your suggestion?
Maybe increase the number of staff, then seminars, then training of supervisors, and also training of students undertaking what is expected of them as far as supervision is concerned.
And also, my idea is, if we realize the importance of a PhD and research, as a nation, we can just give tuition-free education to PhD students. That will really help them and motivate them. Because these people are carrying a lot of wealth that will help the entire nation. So if the government can take on, that's my suggestion. If the government can assist in giving these students free tuition, then they will finish in time. Because most of the times, they have to balance between their families. Who should go for education now? You choose. So in most cases, it's cost related.
Maybe just to add, one unique is to allow for mediation process. Because sometimes in the process of supervision, a lot of things may come up. Ombudsman mediation process, so that we identify independent organs. In case there is conflicts between the supervisor and the candidate, at least there should be a lot of things. So that would also help. And then rewarding and motivation of both the candidates and even the supervisor. These are things which should be done to really make things go well.
It's okay.
And maybe-
Now go back to the last.
Yes, I
the
mean-
last. Yes.
Because you have said reward, also discontinuing students when they take so long. So you must know that this thing is not forever. You discontinue them at some time. That way, it may also force them to start concentrating.
It's okay. So as we come to the end, any word that you want to say about this study, about doctoral candidates, supervision in African universities? Any last word you want to say?
Just that universities connect so that we share the resources of lecturers. You know, in most universities, supervision is by a team, not just two people, a team of expertise. But here it is left to only one or two people. And that is a very big contributory factor. So if the universities could pool their resources together so that they are allowing for teamwork, even inter-university teamwork, that would be good, so that people in an area come together to supervise. It would help.
Yeah, maybe just to add, maybe even when we have students presenting here, it will be important that we call maybe a supervisor from external, just to listen and contribute.
I would say that the venture of doctoral program is a very, very important thing. I would recommend that exchange program be adopted so that students are exposed locally and globally, so that they also see how it is done elsewhere, and this should be done and taken seriously by the institution, universities.
So thank you so much for your contribution and your contribution in this process of doctoral student supervision in African universities and more so in KIBU universities. So we promise that we will share the findings and also the resource materials that we have benefit from the training course to you. We will send them to your emails. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Bye.
Thank you.